Amazon Web Services is being sued by Parler after effectively throwing Parler off the internet in the early morning hours of January 11th, 2021. Parler is alleging breach of contract and antitrust violations against Amazon. So why am I talking about this? I'm Nick Recato of Recato Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. I'm a lawyer, an online commentator, and free speech advocate. As such, you should not take anything in this video or any YouTube video ever as legal advice. You should always talk to local counsel who is registered in your area and gets to know your specific situation. I'm just here to bring you the story and help you facilitate the discussions around it. Speaking of those discussions, drop a comment below and tell me what you think about this video, this topic, these parties, all of that stuff. Here are the two sources we'll be using for this, and they will be linked in the description for your viewing and reading pleasure. I'm going to try and summarize them as best as possible. The first one is this Fox Business article about the subject, and the other one is the actual court document, the complaint filed by Parler against Amazon. So, Parler sues Amazon for suspending app from cloud service, claims antitrust violation and breach of contract. Who are the parties? The parties are Parler and Amazon Web Services. Now, Amazon Web Services is not like the Amazon you may be familiar with. Amazon delivers products to your door and has started out by delivering books to people, but Amazon Web Services works in a similar way, but for the internet. It delivers web pages from web providers to your browser. It makes the internet work. It's not the only service that does this, but it is the biggest by far. Twice as big as its next competitor and bigger than the next three competitors combined. So it is huge. Parler is a microblogging website that has billed itself as an alternative to Twitter with more lax moderation policies. Those policies are a key factor in this lawsuit, and it is also part of Parler's recent explosion in growth. Many people felt that Twitter was unfairly moderating people on the right, from conservatives all the way to the alt-right, leading up to and in the wake of the 2020 election. Many people had expressed dissatisfaction with what they claimed were unfair moderation policies that favored left or Democrat political ideas and disfavored right or Republican political ideas and speech. Going from editorializing President Trump's tweets with suggestions that his claims were disputed, all the way to the ultimate banning and removal of Donald Trump and several other Republican and right-leaning accounts, like General Flynn, Sidney Powell, Lynn Wood, to name a few, but many, many thousands of others as well. So this created a hashtag exodus from Twitter to Parler, resulting in Parler gaining over 1 million downloads on the app stores in the week leading up to its removal from Google and Apple's app stores, and right before this suspension from Amazon. Parler was seeing unprecedented growth and an explosion in its business practices and business model, and it was right on the road to what it was calling full success, and that has been effectively kneecapped by Amazon's removal of it. Now, this website does not address the Apple and Google stores removing the app, and that in and of itself may cripple Parler's ability to do business in the future, but they are seeing that as a battle for a different day, and they have different claims that may not be applicable against Google or Apple. All right, so Parler's moderation policies were different than Twitter's, and that is what Amazon is citing as its ultimate reason for removing Parler. Remember, I said those policies would be important. Amazon has suggested that Parler was not effectively removing calls for violence and calls for the overthrow of government from their website. In fact, they cited 98 different examples in a letter to Parler. Interestingly, that letter was disclosed to BuzzFeed before Parler got it, suggesting that Amazon might be doing this for political clout and publicity rather than for any serious violations of its service. And this is one of the allegations that Parler makes in its document. But anyway, Amazon cited 98 different instances of violent tweets that they believed, or parlays as they're called, that they believed needed to be taken down. Parler, for what it's worth, has claimed that they actually took down all 98 of the reported instances and then some, because though their moderation policies are more lax than Twitter's, they still have policies against advocating violence or inciting violence or the overthrow of government, similar to what Twitter is doing. And in fact, Amazon is suggesting that their enforcement is the problem, not necessarily the terms of use themselves. Parler fires back at Amazon in this lawsuit, suggesting that on Twitter you can find many more examples of much more egregious content, including the hashtag #HangMikePence, which reached over 14,000 tweets before Twitter removed the hashtag and its trending status. So Parler is saying, well, if Twitter has this same sort of stuff and that we do, and in fact more of it and worse, then why isn't Amazon enforcing against Twitter? And that is where we get to the antitrust violation, the first claim of this. They're claiming violations of the Sherman Antitrust Act, in which multiple companies can work together to create a trust that would unfairly prevent competition. Capitalism is all about competition. Capitalism is not about creating gates to prevent other people from competing. There are certainly ways in which you can grow your business in a way that people want to buy yours, but you're not supposed to prevent them from buying someone else through improper means. And that's what they're alleging here. And how are they alleging that? Well, Parler had an agreement with Amazon to distribute their web services, as we talked about, bringing it to your browser or your phone or whatever. They have a similar agreement with Twitter, an agreement that was public and is obviously going to be larger than the agreement they have with Parler. We're talking about many, many millions more users on Twitter at this time than existed on Parler. They are suggesting that Twitter leveraged the relationship with Amazon, and Amazon reciprocated by removing one of Twitter's rising competitors from the ability to do business. That is the core of their antitrust violation. So they're alleging that the relationship between Amazon and Twitter created an effective trust, and it was anti-competitive of them at that point to remove them from the service because it benefits their contract partner. Now, the breach of contract that Parler is alleging against Amazon's a little bit different. They're saying that Amazon was required under their contract to give them 30 days notice before removing them from the service, that any removal of the service or termination of the contract would carry a 30-day notice, and they're alleging that Amazon only gave them 30 hours with which to comply. I believe they're also alleging that they did comply. Now, the point in this lawsuit, in my opinion, is not to actually win and defeat Amazon, although that is obviously the goal of the lawsuit. But Parler really just needs that 30-day window, I think, in their minds. They are talking about how this is a crucial time for the business, and indeed, they've asked the court for an immediate injunction to get them back on Amazon services and to prevent that immediate termination, saying that that immediate termination is the death knell for the company if they're not restored very quickly. So the idea is this urgent return to the service. If they can return to the service, they can spend the next 30 days with a little bit of relief, and they can adapt themselves to either another vendor or getting their own distribution system up in order. Whether or not they'll be able to do any of that remains to be seen. But I will be following along. I hope this summary has helped you understand the legal issues that are involved with these two parties. This is big news right now. Please drop a comment below. Let me know if you have questions, thoughts, ideas, opinions. And more importantly, I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Peace.